My beautiful friend Amy has kindly given me her recipe for her fig and raisin cake. This cake is so good, and every time we go to her house for a tea party, this is what she serves, and we always get very excited. What I really love about this cake is we use dried figs here and some raisins, and then on top of it, to garnish, we use fresh grapes and figs. It's really, really delicious. Now, to start with, we need 1/4 cup of these raisins. You can also use sultanas if you like. And I am measuring this out because it's a ratio between the liquid and the dried fruits. I need 1 cup of these figs. So I'm just going to place them in a measuring cup like this. And we want to chop them roughly. So just with your knife, we're going to cut these in about 4 pieces. Now I've got an English tea bag that I've placed in some boiling water, and I've just let that sit there for about 15 minutes just to cool down slightly, and we're going to pour that straight over just like that. So that sits there for about 15 minutes and all of that liquid gets absorbed, and you can see, here's one that I've done. You can see there's not much liquid left, and the figs and the raisins have become really, really soft. So we'll use those in a moment, but let's get started with the cake batter. 125 grams of soft butter, and that goes straight into our mixer, along with 3/4 cup of brown sugar. And we're just going to press that down like that. So that's 1/2 cup. And I've got my 1/4 cup measurement here. Always be accurate with baking so it comes out perfectly. In it goes. And now we're going to cream this until it's really soft and light. After it starts to become really soft and fluffy, I'll start to add the eggs. So 3 eggs, and you want to put them in one at a time until they really get incorporated. So those eggs have been incorporated really well now. So now it's time for the dry ingredients. We're needing 1.5 cups of the self-raising. So measure that out. And I'm going to do it in intervals. I'm going to add a little bit of self-raising flour, then I'll add our dried fruits, and keep alternating it until it's all incorporated. So that's 1 cup, and I'm just going to add 1/2 of that at this stage, along with some bicarb soda. That'll also give it a lovely rise. And then slowly incorporate that, and then we'll add a little bit of our dried fruits. This cake mix is perfect. It's glossy. It's exactly the way Amy's cake is. So I'll take that paddle out. We want to make sure we take as much of that batter off the paddle here. I've got my springform tin here, and just with a spatula, we're going to scrape this bowl clean and just dollop it in. If you don't have a non-stick cake tin, just make sure that you put a little bit of baking paper or butter and flour your tin, just to make sure that the cake comes out. Just use another spoon here. Oh, it smells so good. I actually smell the tea and the figs. You know, if it smells good now, it's going to be pretty good when it comes out of the oven. Spread it around just with the back of your spoon. And to ensure that we don't have any air bubbles, what I do is just give the tin a bit of a tap just to break any of the gathered bubbles, just like that. 1. Now we're ready to bake. About 45 minutes in the oven. I place that on a tray just to make it easier to handle, and in it goes. Look how beautiful this cake looks. It's risen nicely. I've just allowed it to cool slightly in the tin, and I'll take it out in a moment. But to make this cake even better, I'm going to serve it with a caramel sauce, and this is so good. First of all, pot on the heat. You need 1 cup of brown sugar, and that goes straight into the pot. Really easy measurements to follow here, because with the 1 cup of sugar, we need 1 cup of thick cream. And then some butter. So a little bit of butter there that's melted slightly. And once that thickens, we're going to pour it over the cake. It's so good. So let that bubble away for about 5 minutes. You'll see it starting to thicken immediately, but you do want it to stick to the cake. So make sure that you do cook it for a little bit. So while that's happening, let's take this out of the springform tin. Look at that. It's a great cake. This is great as is, really. And then I'll take it off the base, turn it back around, and you can see what I've done here. I've placed the cake on a rack onto a tray because I'm going to pour that caramel over, so this will keep it nice and neat. Once that has thickened, just to make it extra special, I've got some roasted hazelnuts here for the crunch, so we're going to add them also. Now, to echo those flavours, the dried figs and the raisins, we've got these Scarlotta grapes, so seedless grapes, and I'm going to snip a few of these off just before we serve it, and figs if they're in season. Look how good they are, they're so soft. When you're looking for perfect figs, you can see they almost look jammy at the base there. You know that they are ready to be eaten. And I just take the top off like this, and I want it to be kind of chunky on the top, so it's a little bit dramatic when you bring it to your guests. So we're going to cut these figs in four, like this. Look at that, perfect centre of these figs. Gosh, they look good. Now look at this. This is thickened up. I'm going to turn that off now. It smells amazing. And now we can start pouring this over the cake. And I think this is why people love to bake, because there's moments like this where it looks so dramatic when you just pour that caramel over and it's just going to garnish. Oh, amazing. And there'll be a little pool of this caramel in the centre that's just brilliant. What you could do is get a skewer and pierce the cake, and then the caramel will absorb into the cake. That's a really great idea too. We'll keep that for next time. And now we need to transfer it to a cake stand. I've got a really nice bright white one here. Clear this area up. Put that here. And then just with a palette knife, we'll lift our cake very carefully. Pop that on, and now we can garnish. So I start with crunchy hazelnuts in the centre, and our figs, put them on the top, and don't forget our lovely grapes. I like to snip them just there, just the tip, and then put them on. And you could absolutely get a little bit of icing sugar and dust that, but really, this just looks fabulous as is. All of my friends out there that love to bake pastries, they'd be really impressed because they know I'm not the best at it. Things are changing around here. That cake is superb. Amy, thank you very much.